What's up, guys? This is Noah. It's been a little while since I posted a video. I've been really focused on my strength and endurance training for several obstacle course races, or OCRs, this year. In fact, I just finished a Spartan sprint in the DC sprint in Maryland a couple weeks back, and I'm now training for Spartan Beast in December. So this video is the first in a series of OCR related videos about techniques on various aspects of obstacle course races. This one in particular is going to be focused on the spear throw for a Spartan race. And the reason I wanted to start with this one, because it's so near and dear to my heart. 2 years in a row at a Spartan Super, I missed the spear throw. It was really frustrating to have to do burpees because I felt like if I had just practiced that or had a way to practice it, that I would have done much better. So I decided to set up my own spear throw in my backyard. And we're going to talk a little bit about how I set it up, what you could do to set up your own, both the spear and the spear throw hay bale background if you want to do that. And then I'm going to go into a little bit of technique and variations on techniques so that you can hopefully find what works for you so that you can kick ass at that next Spartan. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. All right. Before we get started on actual technique, I want to talk a little bit about setup. 2 parts, the spear itself and the target for the spear, which we'll look at in just a minute. So I built this spear from a few things that I was able to get at my local hardware store. Super easy to do if you need to set up your own. The handle is just a standard handle that you can buy. I forget exactly how much it was, but it was under $10. It has a hole already in the end so that you can buy some component and plug it right in. Then I bought a 12-inch nail. I think it's like 3/8 of an inch thick nail. So this thing, it goes all the way down into the base. I bought some epoxy, which is already 2 parts that are mixed together in the sort of squeeze bottle. Cut the head off the back of the nail, poured epoxy in there, pushed the nail in, let it set up for about an hour. It was good to go. In my particular setup, I also needed to make sure that in case I overthrow my target, I don't end up putting a hole in my neighbor's shed. So I just bought a little package of like 50 feet of paracord. I think it was maybe $3 or $4. Ran a double loop through here and kind of braided it at the end just to make sure that it's durable. And then if we can just kind of pan down here, we'll look at a stake that I put in the ground to make sure that even if I overthrow my target by like a foot or 2, then we'll make sure that the spear stops and doesn't go too far. All right, the second part of the setup is the target itself. From what I've read, the distance that the competitor will be from the target at any given Spartan race is approximately 30 feet. If that's accurate, then my setup here is also accurate. So we're about 30 feet away from 4 hay bales sitting on an awesome utility cart that I pulled out of my garage. The target height needs to range from approximately 4 feet off the ground to 8 feet off the ground, giving you a kind of a 4x4 target area to shoot for. So the last thing we need to talk about is technique. There are a couple different techniques that I've seen that work really well for some people and not so well for others. I experimented with several of them, and I ultimately settled on one that works pretty consistently for me, usually at about 80 or 90% accuracy of me hitting the target with what would be acceptable at the Spartan. So one of the ones that I started with was kind of this pencil or dart technique, which is a couple of fingers here or 3 fingers even if you need to hold the weight a little bit better. But the idea is that you find the center point of the spear, balance it, and then transfer your fingers to kind of an elongated pencil or dart throwing technique. And for the most part, all of these techniques are going to involve taking your arm that you're not throwing with, pointing your arm out toward the target so that you have a visual and you're aligned with how you're going to throw at the target, and then pulling your arm back. Now, how you pull your arm back is going to depend on how you're holding the spear. And so for this particular technique with the pencil throw, you're mostly going to be pulling the arm back and thrusting it forward, and the trajectory doesn't change a lot. That requires a lot of thrust to keep the spear level and to ultimately hit your target at 30 feet away. That technique didn't work out very well for me, so what I did instead is I use a modified version where instead of putting my hand at the center point of the spear, I shift my hand to about a hand's space away from the center point, And instead of gripping with my fingertips, I actually grip in my palm, take my fingertips and then slide them down and hold a grip like this, and then rest the rest of the spear on the palm of my hand. And then of course I turn my hand in and hold it like I would otherwise. But what this allows me to do is now the weight of the spear wants to pull down to the front, which is good because what I really want to do is I want to shift the tip of the spear up to somewhere between a 30 and a 45 degree angle. You'll have to experiment with it a little bit. And when I throw the spear, instead of just thrusting forward, I actually thrust in a push up and out position. And that allows the spear to slowly, over the duration of its flight, change its trajectory. So it has more of an arch, and then ultimately will come down into the target. And you don't have to use as much thrust to try to thrust it straight forward into the target. So that's about it on a couple of the techniques. We're going to go ahead and demonstrate a half a dozen or so throws, and I'm going to use the technique that works best for me. Alright guys, that's my demonstration of the Spartan Spear Throw, including setup of both the spear and the target, as well as a demonstration of a technique that works really well for me. I hope you guys find a technique that works really well for you so you can crush your next Spartan. A root.